David Nguyen, known for his public threats of violence, the fact he's okay talking to a 16-year-old, and his determination to defend other predators. What goes on in this guy's head? Today we're looking at some of his mental health history, what drives a man into these obsessive stalker tendencies, and causes him to threaten and creep on women the way that he does. David the Demon suffers from bipolar disorder, depression, anxiety, and autism, with speculation of other diagnoses. While mental health is a very serious topic, I'd like to say in no way is this activity this chick gets up to excused by his illnesses. This guy should very much be held accountable for his actions. Like Andy Ditch, David loves to play up his diagnosis, getting fired from multiple jobs, claiming it's because of his illnesses holding him back, though mental health providers seem to mostly call him out on this fact. One therapist telling him straight up she believes he's being fired on purpose and playing up all his symptoms. David quotes her in this post with, "I ain't falling for it. You don't want to do anything but sit at home and make stupid YouTube videos." Unfortunately, David can't stand when those around him can't be pushed around and refuse to enable him. A professional who pushes back on David a little bit elicits some sort of meltdown out of the guy. For example, his attack of this poor receptionist. It could never be his own fault, though. Alarmingly, David compares his mental state to that of the Joker from the 2019 movie. For those unfamiliar with the plot, the Joker faces mental health issues and brutal bullying, sending him into a spiraling decline in mental health until ultimately murdering a TV talk show host. Very alarming considering his known issues to have him pushing all the blame of his actions onto society as a whole, especially considering this same jit obsesses over random women singers and stalks them to the point of these girls canceling their shows just from knowing he'll arrive at one. It just makes you wonder, with just what he's done to his own friends, this fella is a ticking time bomb just waiting to go off. I'm afraid of the poor woman who might be on the receiving end of that tantrum. Multiple professionals, such as his psychiatrist and the therapists, have suggested inpatient care for David. Of course, with this guy, every instance of this is met with a lot of pushback on his end and always ends up being terminated by the therapist for refusal of treatment, or he axes them for even suggesting that. Difficult doesn't begin to describe this guy when it comes to his interactions with mental health providers. It really speaks volumes to the kind of scary aura this guy has around women, with this provider dropping him after making multiple reports about him. Based on the reports and his history, it's safe to say she was afraid of him, considering she needed her male coworker to sit down with the both of them in order to axe him. With one worker at the same clinic having connections to some of his previous providers, over and over again, it seems David has made absolutely no progress in any of his goals when it comes to bettering his mental state. He asks him a good question. David just glosses over it, but could really benefit from it, asking if he wants to spend all his time on his computer instead of just experiencing life. Tying into David's cooperation issues with people trying to help him, a large conflict between them is David's avid refusal to get off the internet, YouTube, Reddit, the whole lot of it. He has to be one of the most chronically online people out there. His Twitter page, Twisterbolt, has 554,200 posts and counting, obsessively posting multiple times an hour throughout the entire day, nearly every day. Every post slightly related to the last, giving you a glimpse into basically exactly what the guy is thinking at all times. Highlighted as well in a previous video, David has a wide array of YouTube channels dedicated to various things, but a repeated topic is lolcow defense. Just another point to think about in figuring out this guy's state of mind. What could drive you to defend other proven PDF files tooth and nail like that? Not dwelling on that thought though, as one therapist he names as Sally pestered him for 3 entire months, in fact, to quit YouTube and the internet to focus on mental health. It's a little comforting to know that in his path of violence and threats and decline in mental health, he truly has had some voices of reason in his life, with Sally telling him it's his own fault that she doesn't feel sorry for him, because it really is. There's no reason to pity David. People don't dislike him without reason. It's not because he's autistic or anything like that. He's displayed insane behavior on and off the internet and has so many people concerned for the women he comes into contact with because of his own actions. David has been handed time and time again ways out of the spiral, and he always refuses. He's too incredibly addicted to the internet and so sunken into the depravity of his stalking and creepy obsessive behavior. What I do know is that he's just as addicted to posting in various subreddits similar to Am I the Jerk, asking all sorts of questions and divulging info that a few people have been keeping an eagle eye on and archiving. Clearly, this has given me and the rest of the community a large majority of the information on him, but he thinks he's invisible and invincible and impossible to track for some reason. And he keeps it up even though every post of him is immediately clocked. But he goes through the trouble of making a burner account for nearly every single post anyways, but all ending in a ban on the Reddit or backlash in the comments from his objectively stupid questions. Now this David Jit is no stranger to threatening people or causing them harm, with multiple occasions swatting his own friends, with building frustrations toward his therapists. He's even resorted to making spoofed prank phone calls using his ex-therapist's phone numbers in an attempt to get the police to harm them, as some sort of sick get-back. David's tendencies aren't all violent. He shows so many signs of being an obsessive stalker, with being called out one time by a psychiatrist for his stalker-like behavior, one significant figure being Dr. Torrance, straight telling him not to travel to see his quote-unquote lady friend, as it will only feed his obsessions. Many of these lady friends of his are actually just singers or performers or actresses David has formed some sort of demented parasocial relationship with delusions of actually dating these people, when in reality he genuinely scares these girls if they learned of him to begin with. David, though, being the lazy, unemployed man that he is, can't get around to stalking these girls with his own money. He has none. His pay-pig friends somehow get guilted into forking over funds for these trips. A big spender we know is Sam, as he has had a girlfriend or a wife named Audrey, who David now despises. David, infuriated with the fact that Sam takes him on less trips and has expressed on so many occasions he intends to cause this girl harm, and in his delusions he's shared with his therapist his thoughts of hurting this lady, for some unknown reason expecting some positive feedback on this. Obviously, the therapist told him off for his thoughts and his reasoning behind them, but it's just another prime example of how lost in the sauce of his own delusions he gets at times. It's so sick to think he expected a therapist to encourage him to commit assault. Like, this guy is so twisted. His awful obsession with these girls leading to threats against people in his way. With this girl, Kate, he had an obsession with a little while ago, he'd show up unannounced and found his way backstage, somehow with the help of some event staff, catching her off guard. She was eventually forced to file a restraining order on him, scaring her to the point of refusing to do any events without CCTV and security. This guy is a menace, because after this whole situation, he vents his frustrations reenacting Taken 3 using her photo likeness to play a character who dies in the film, essentially acting out a scene where she dies in some sick freak way of getting back at her. With every opportunity for help to get out of the sad life he leads handed right to him, he swats the hand away in favor of his lifestyle of mental illness, chronic posting, and scaring women. I'd honestly be really interested in picking his brain and interviewing the guy. It's almost fascinating how dead set he is on his deplorable actions being totally in the right. If you've watched this far, David, reach out to me on Twitter. I'll make it happen. Otherwise, though, be on the lookout, guys. I think David will be a mainstream cow in the near future, but thanks for watching. Subscribe for more shit like this. Later, grubbas.